If you're human, chances are you felt anxious at some point in your life. And regardless of where your relationship is with anxiety right now, if it's something that comes up pretty persistently, if it's something that comes up often for you and is pretty intense, or if it's something that just shows up in certain situations or at certain times, there are annoying things that anxiety can make us do. Things that we're doing, things that are happening that we might not even be aware that are rooted in anxiety. And oftentimes, in order to take constructive action, in order to deal with things, in order to work through certain things in our lives, first, we have to get that insight and that understanding. So that's exactly what we're going to do today as we talk about 7 annoying things that anxiety can make us do. If you're new to me and this is the first time we're connecting, my name is Julia Christina, and I'm a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, and an online course creator. I have a master's degree in counseling psychology, and I work to help men and women get through the crap that is holding them back so they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And as I go through these 7 annoying things, if one of them or 2 of them or 3 of them or all of them connect with you as we're going through them, just leave a comment in the comments section below and say, totally been there, or amen to that, or yup, I've experienced that, whatever it is. For no other reason other than to let us all know that we're not alone, that we're not weird or broken or flawed for experiencing these things. Because oftentimes too, one thing that can be really healing for us in general, just in life in general, is knowing that whatever it is that we're going through, we are not alone, which we never are, but sometimes we don't realize it, or we maybe even forget it. So let's get right into this. And the first annoying thing that anxiety can make us do is it can give us a really shaky voice. Now, maybe you've experienced that if you've ever done any public speaking, if you've had to give a presentation at work, or if you had to give a talk at school, or at any kind of like family gathering, you had to get up and say something, at a wedding or whatever it is, and it gives you that really shaky voice. And you might be wondering, what's this all about? Why is this happening? Well, that's because during those times, those kind of more high pressured situations where we may fear, having all these eyes on us, or we may fear failure, may fear saying something stupid, or whatever it is that we work ourselves up about, extra adrenaline starts pumping through our body in these higher stress situations, which then that adrenaline is what makes our voice shake. That one can be really annoying, especially if you're trying to look really confident and you're trying to look really together, and that voice, like you work on everything else and keep yourself from shaking or sweating or whatever it is, and you're trying your best, but then you open your mouth and that kind of shaky quiveriness comes out in your voice. It can be super, super annoying. The next one, and I just mentioned it a little bit there, is that anxiety can make us get really sweaty. In some of those same kinds of situations, if you're giving a presentation at work, or if you're giving, a talk at school, if you're, giving a speech somewhere, and you're trying to look really professional, you're trying to look really calm, you're trying to look really together, and your body goes into overdrive, and you just start sweating. And the reason why this is because in those situations where we're having that underlying anxiety response, or that fear response, which anxiety and fear are oftentimes, one and the same, our body is going into the fight, flight, or freeze response, which we're not going to go deeply into now, but all we need to know about this, when you've probably actually heard of it already, is that because we're going into fight, flight, or freeze, all the blood is going into our core to protect our vital organs, which brings, when our blood is all going to the core, it brings more heat to the core, which then causes us to sweat. That one is annoying, especially if it's that profuse sweating and there's nothing you can really do about it, and it just makes you feel uncomfortable. But the truth is that with all of these, we often notice it more. We oftentimes think that, oh my gosh, everyone's totally looking at me and they can see that I'm sweating, or they can see that my voice is shaking, or whatever it is. And oftentimes we work ourselves up even more so, thinking that everyone's noticing, and chances are they really aren't. And the next one, number 3, we're going to get into the bathroom talk quite literally, because anxiety can actually make you pee a lot. It can make you have to go to the bathroom quite often. If you've ever experienced this, if you've been ready to go into a meeting or to a job interview or into a more stressful situation, a more anxiety-provoking situation, and you just have to pee and pee and pee and you can't stop peeing and you're like, what is wrong with me? I didn't even drink that much. Why do I have to keep peeing? This is so annoying because I just need to go in and get this done, which can even sometimes make you even more anxious because then you're like, well, what if I have to pee again when I'm on stage or when I'm in front of these people or when I'm in this situation that I can't just run out of? What if I have to pee? Well, that one is because when we are feeling anxious, our body gets tense. Quite simply, our muscles are contracting. Kind of most of our muscles in our bodies are tense and contracting when we are anxious, including our bladder muscles. And so our bladder is contracting, it's tense, which makes it so there's less room, there's less storage space, which means that we just have to pee more often. It's as simple as that, but it is annoying. The next one is overthinking. And can we just say that this is probably one of the most annoying ones? Well, maybe it's not. Maybe one of the other ones is more annoying for you, depending on where you're at. But the overthinking, and I have a whole video about helping to turn our thoughts off and stopping from overthinking, and I will put a link to that below. But that's a really annoying one. But the reason why we oftentimes overthink so much when we're feeling anxious is it is rooted, in something that's trying to be good. We often are trying to prevent danger, or, we're trying to prevent danger by thinking about the worst case scenario or what could happen. And oftentimes anxiety is blowing things way out of proportion and making them way bigger than they are. But originally it does come from a good place of wanting to stay alive. It's just that when anxiety gets in there, anxiety oftentimes makes it a lot more than it actually is. Or we're trying, by overthinking, we could be also trying to prevent ourselves from being rejected. And so if you're overthinking a situation from the past, overthinking a social interaction or something that happened or something you said, or, that replaying of what did I say, or could they have taken it that way, or what if they thought this, and what if, or how did this go, or whatever that is that we get stuck in. That is oftentimes rooted also originally in a good place of not wanting to be rejected, because that sense of belonging, that sense of connection is a fundamental human need. But what anxiety does is it takes that sort of fear of rejection or that need to belong, and it blows those situations way out of proportion and cause us to overthink and stress and obsess and get unnecessarily worked up about things. The next annoying thing that anxiety can make us do is get really foggy, and even sometimes almost feel like we're having an out-of-body experience. If you've ever experienced that, where you felt just kind of foggy in the head or just unclear, and it almost even feels like you see kind of fog in front of you, that things maybe even kind of get blurry. And the reason why this happens is this can often come up in really intense situations, or when we're feeling really intense, really stressed, or really anxious, and our brain just starts to go on overload and then starts to shut down. So it gets so stressed out and it gets so overcapacitated, like it just gets so just overwhelmed, that it starts to kind of shut down or kind of semi-shut down, which is where that almost like disassociating / disconnecting / kind of foggy sort of out of body experience, however you've experienced maybe one of those, maybe all of those, then that's why that's happening, and that is what's happening there. The next one, back to our fight, flight, or freeze, we can actually get frozen. We can get stuck. We can even just not feel like we can take action or get things done. And we might know, like, I need to do this thing, or I need to send this email, or I need to reply to that person, or I need to get this done, or I need to get out the door so that I'm not late, or whatever it is that come up. And every person is different with their situation where they feel frozen. But if you've ever felt that feeling when you're like, I know I need to do this, but I just feel like I can't. I feel totally stuck. I feel totally frozen. I feel totally unable, and I don't know why. And oftentimes this one is rooted in perfectionism. This one is rooted in a fear of failure. So fear of failure and perfectionism go hand in hand. That oftentimes we fear failure, and it's not even so much that we fear failure, we fear things not being perfect. We feel like we need to be the best, or whatever we do needs to be amazing and wonderful just for us to be good enough. It's not because we're trying to be better than everybody else. It's because we feel like there's something kind of not good enough about me. There's something inferior about me. And just to maybe feel like I am on even playing field with other people, I have to do better just to be good enough. And so oftentimes when we're feeling frozen, when we're feeling stuck in that inaction, that's that anxiety, that's that fear of failure, that's that perfectionism that is coming up. And then our last one. And I don't know about you, but this one definitely comes up for me, is getting hyper-focused on little things. Meaning trying to kind of over-control smaller things. So maybe when you're feeling really anxious, when you're feeling stressed out, maybe if you're like me, when you're feeling just kind of overwhelmed with it all and feeling like things are out of control, you will hyper-focus on smaller things and try to over-control those smaller things. Like maybe for me anyways, my house is really clean. When I'm really stressed out, when I'm really overwhelmed, when everything in my life is feeling kind of chaotic and out of control, I try to overcompensate for that by controlling the things that I can control, which is oftentimes my surroundings and wanting a really clean, pristine, orderly, minimalist space. So maybe you can relate to that one, getting overly focused on smaller things and trying to over control smaller things. Maybe for you, it looks like over planning, that you get stuck in the details and you have to be able to over control everything that's going on in a particular plan. If it's just social plans or if it's vacation plans, that you feel like you need to over control that because you're feeling really anxious in certain areas of your life. You're feeling really stressed out. You're feeling really overwhelmed. So maybe then trying to over control in those certain areas. And it can even come up in checking, double checking, triple checking, getting kind of stuck in that checking mode. If you've ever done it, if you've reread an email like 18 times, or reread something that you're putting together, or check the locks in your house like a million times, or the stove, or whatever it is. And that's rooted in anxiety and wanting to have some sort of sense of control on the outside when we're feeling a lack of control on the inside. So that's oftentimes why these things are happening. They're rooted in anxiety. They are annoying as heck. And if you can relate to any of them, again, leave that comment in the comment section below. Let us know which one you could relate to, or just say, yep, I can relate to at least one of these. Share with the rest of us how this connected with you so that, again, we can know that we're not alone. Like the video, share it out, subscribe to the channel. Oh, and if anxiety is something that you do struggle with, I have a tip sheet for you. Just a really simple, straightforward 7 simple ways to manage anxiety. There's some just really fun little simple exercises and things we can do right in the moment that will help curb the anxiety, that will help us feel a little bit calmer and a little bit more grounded. And you can do a lot of them anytime, any place. So do make sure you grab that. Come and join my Facebook group, goodformegroup.com, full of incredible men and women who are supportive, encouraging, and fun, heart-centered go-getters. So come on over, join us there, goodformegroup.com. So good to connect with you. Until next time, take good care.